Let's get started on everything. Thank you everyone for coming to the live streams. I really appreciate it. I do have, one simple request to make, which is go to istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon here to join us on Reddit. If you want to do a 14-day challenge, if you are ready to go and learning how to get critique, how to give critique, you want to improve your portfolio, you're ready to take things a little more seriously, our Reddit is available for you. It grows up more and more every day, every 6 months. The number just boosts right up. We've only had the Reddit up for like a year or so, or a little bit over a year. I'm not really sure. A little bit over a year. Maybe it was last year. It was 2020, wasn't it? Where the thing went down. I'm not sure. But no, 2019. Doesn't matter. Go to the Alien Environment Design Challenge here and post your alien environment. So read through the post. Obviously, there's no time left, but this is typically how we do the character designs. The community challenges. I've taught so many students so far today that I've got a million words in my frontal lobe right now ready to be spoken. That's not even how it works, but community challenges are an awesome way to engage with your fellow Redditors and do all working on the same project, sense of community. It's really fun. It's really exciting. And it's a way to test yourself, to push yourself a little bit further and mimic a workplace environment, such as being hired to do an illustration of some kind, be it a book cover or an environment. We do all kinds of themes for the Reddit challenges. And to get critique from me, I usually critique every single one that's posted, or I try to. I'm just one person. But I try to. Sometimes we get like 25 submissions, or we used to a long time ago when the Google Plus community was active. But if you want to be involved in all of this, go to istebrak.com and click on the Reddit icon and join us here. And then please make sure when you're subscribed on YouTube, you turn the notification bell on. Some people do have it on and they still don't get notifications. I'm not sure what's happening with YouTube. I thought it was something I could wait out and see what happens, but really nobody is getting any notifications for live streams. Videos do get views, but sometimes videos get very little views as well. I'm not sure why, but the YouTube algorithm, ever since they did that whole safe for kids and that whole ad beast, that ad hydra movement that they wanted to do to make things more ad worthy, it seemed like they pushed every other channel that sends out shorter videos or unfun or non-entertaining videos. They pushed them to the back and gave priority notifications to people who to channels who have those shorter, quick videos. I'm not gonna bend. I'm not gonna change my teaching style. These are educational videos. Education is not fast food, so I'm not going to switch and start painting naked anime girls in 5 minutes with some stupid royalty-free music. That's never gonna happen on my channel, and it never will. If that's what you're expecting me to do, it's not gonna happen. So please make sure your subscribe bell is on, and we can try to tackle it somehow. If you are wondering why you're not getting notifications, why you're not joining the live streams, when is the next live stream? It's every week there's a stream, so please do turn this on. No, it has not been a year since I've streamed. Yes, I'm still here. A lot of people show up and like, what, Istebrak still making videos? Yes, it's because they're not sending out my notifications, that you don't know that I still make videos. If you want to support me on Patreon, you can. You can join us just $1 a month. That's if everybody joined. It's really quite a lot. So if everybody wants to join and send out to your local IBS drive. IBS makes so much sense because I have IBS. Anyway, let's get started on today's class. A couple of small announcements on YouTube. If you join the community, if you do turn on your bell, you'll get the weekly sketch challenges, which are really fun. And I also extend that sketch challenge stage into Instagram. So you message me on Instagram, and that's where I share it on my Instagram. If whoever posts something gets shared. So I don't reject any of the share. I put them all on my stories on Instagram, so you guys can find each other and talk to each other and have fun, all of that good stuff. And that's it. Thank you all for coming. I'll see you guys next class. Anyways, so I'll be looking at a couple pieces today, and both have posing issues. This one and this one. I'm going to start off with this one, since this one is a posing issue as well as an environment issue. So for this one, what I usually don't talk about is how to stage your character design environments. They really shouldn't be a lot. Istebrak, does the sketch challenge thing have to be done the exact same day you release the challenge? No, you get like a week to do it, and you can revisit old challenges. That you know, it's supposed to be a pressure-free experience. It's not supposed to be something that's supposed to feel like homework or anything like that. Cancel. All right. I don't know why this is locked. Huh. And I'm pretty sure I don't have Flux on. All right, so my brain is kind of fried again. I've just done so many classes today that I've just looked through maybe 20 pieces altogether today alone. So what I want to talk about is how to make this environment a little bit more engaging. And the reason why you were having issues kind of making sense with, you know, what's happening with her and what's happening in the background is because the background value doesn't really relate to her character design in any way. So I'm going to start off by just matching those two together. And it can still be blue, but she is a light source now. She's carrying this glowing orb thing, and I want to make it so that it makes sense. Okay, and then merge that down. And then we have, oh, son of a bitch. Select inverse. Sorry for cussing. And then we're going to try again. We're gonna try again. Okie dokie. All right, I think we figured it out. So the first thing I'm going to start off with is establishing the light source, which is her. I'm going to give her a little glow for this magic she has here. I'm not sure why you left it out, but it's extremely important because it's a glowing combustion type material, unless it's just like a really matte object or something. And then what I'm going to do is change the background color, because the background color does not help your scene. So I'm going to lighten it, I'm going to saturate it, and I'm going to change it to that blue of the magic, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And I have the vision in my mind for what I want it to look like, and it's kind of like a turquoisey scene, but it's also pretty dark. I'm just watching the navigator to make sure I get it on the right spot. Alright, and then this stuff has now changed color, so I'm just gonna switch it back to where it was. I'm going to bring in an environmental, kind of like a white on the ground beneath her. Just a gentle one, nothing too intense. I'm going to darken the upper half, since I am representing a darker scene. When you have a character, a character design that needs a glowing environment, this is what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to give us some kind of shadowy environment to help it come through. And I'll fix the pose in a bit because the pose is sort of boring. The next thing I'm gonna do is actually put her in something of a silhouette, which you probably guessed already. Okay, and just saturating, because when I add that glow of the magic, I really want it to read, and I want it to kind of just work as bounce light around her. That's why I did 2 layers, because I'll be revealing where that bounce light came in. And I'm just continuously thinking about the placement. I'm sorry about that. I'm not sure what the hell that is. It might be my water bottles. All right, it stopped. And again, I'm just trying to separate her from the background. And what I want to do is make the ground beneath a little more shiny. And I will try to bring back the that glow, that magical glow. And I'm really gonna go for it for this piece, just to try to build an environment around her that's actually very, very minimal, but very character design friendly. And obviously, I'm gonna delete at the arm. And I'm gonna try to find a balance so that the magic still glows, but the background isn't too dark that we can't see. See that? So it's like a nice balance. And now that she's darker, I need to show where, you know, what is visible to that light. And I'm deleting away at anything that looks at the light. So that we have a bit more volume. Okay, so we're keeping a lot of those shadows. I'm just trying to find the cylinder wherever I can see it. Oops. Right, and then merge down, lock the layer, and then I'm gonna grab that blue and use a color wash over anything the light is touching. So we can start balancing all the colors. I'm gonna borrow this black. That's not really a black, but it's just an environmental shadow. And I'm gonna use it on anything that is further away from this primary light right here. I'm gonna go in with another dark kind of turquoisey color. And I'm going to try to get the environment to be a little bit more focused on this magic here. And this magical glow can actually be underneath her layer. And I can just push the shadows to go up. Might illuminate her face as well, just a touch. And then just do a quick color wash, just a quick one on her character, just so again she's matching. So the cast shadow. The issues with the cast shadow are that you actually are trying to, you know, you're trying to show the cast shadow, but you're using it as like a clip art. You know, the cast shadow has rules to make it read as a cast shadow. So it has to be of a low opacity if there's an environment around that's moving, that has light moving, and it has to be diffused. So it has to be blurred a little bit. Though your eyes might not have adjusted to the idea that, you know, cast shadows need a blur, or that a blur looks unusual to you, do it anyway, because it's going to help make the scene look more alive. Oops, see, I'll actually merge it down this way. Then there's her reflection. So to make the ground more reflective, we first have to show how it's capturing, how it's seeing the light around the scene. So it'll be a combination of that environmental blue, which I might switch around. It might come from the top, it might come from the bottom. So that kind of environmental color. So we're showing a base for the ground down here. And then continuously building up the space around, darkening the sides. And then I will finally pull the trigger on the reflection. Oops. Flip vertical. And just try to show off where that reflection may sit. And this is kind of like what completes it, is that the ground now has a bit more activity to it. And you can keep that space between the heel and the reflection. It's more important to show this than this one because it's more blurred. So the reflection is a reflection of the surface it's on. So you could use motion blur, you could use Gaussian blur. Motion blur actually makes more sense because it could be some kind of glass surface that actually doesn't work like a typical blur. It kind of blurs it along the texture of the surface, whatever it may be. Maybe it rained recently and there's movement in the wind on the water's surface, something like that. And it isn't just an equal reflection all the way down, it distorts. So eventually there's like an atmospheric perspective applied to the reflection. And then there's the fact that this magic here, which I'm still a little bit confused about, this magic also needs to be reflected on the ground beneath. So it's like a culmination of all of these different elements, and in the end they all really help her read in her environment. So you could actually darken her quite a bit and get away with it, as long as you go back and make that that light, oops, more blue, just as long as you remember that the reason her face is visible is because of this magic. And I'll take care of that annoying little specular effect you had going on. I would like to darken her a little bit more, but I won't just yet, just so that I could keep focusing on the environment. The next thing I'm going to do is diffuse her. I'm going to add ambient light. So I'm going to make all those excessive shadows on her person a little bit less visible. So I'm going to use that blue and just show how this reflective ground around her is actually distorting a lot of the shadows. I know my lasso wasn't great, so just ignore that. And she's starting to combine a little bit more with her environment. Become more kind of in unison with it. So I have something I wanted to cover with you guys, which is, it feels like this pandemic changed us, and it's like we don't recognize ourselves. I definitely don't recognize myself. And it's really unnerving because we changed whether we wanted to or not. And I feel so different. I feel like a different person. And it's not a negative feeling. I wouldn't say it's a negative feeling. I wouldn't say it's a terrible feeling. But like my priorities changed, you know, my interests changed a great deal. My patience level has changed. It's like you know, it's weird. It's a weird feeling. Even if the change is good, it nonetheless feels like you changed whether you wanted to or not. You changed without your permission, which is, oh, it's kind of annoying. It's kind of a horrible feeling because maybe there were parts of me I didn't want to change, but this pandemic, being what it is, changed a lot about me. And during the pandemic, I moved. I was working on my house. There was the mask situation. I got COVID. I had a lung collapse. I thought I was gonna die. Like, all of these things happening at the same time changed me so fundamentally as a person that I feel like I don't know myself. And I looked it up, obviously, and a lot of people are feeling the same exact thing. They feel, I'm going to flatten the foot so it looks like it's actually on the ground. They're feeling the same thing. They're feeling like this alienation from themselves, the sense of like unfamiliar, this unfamiliar feeling when they look in the mirror, like they don't know who they are. And that's it's really frustrating when that happens, right? So I'm gonna add in that Aurora Borealis you had, this like magical force field around her, which I will try to remember what it looked like. It was just a simple couple brush strokes with radial upward. There we go. And yeah, like, do you feel the same? Do you feel like the same thing has happened to you? If so, like, what are you doing about it? And is there anything we can do about it? It just feels very, very unnerving. So I'm going to start darkening kind of like uniformly upward before I add in that magical force field thingamabob. And that magical effect will help reveal her out of her silhouette. So yes, I darken the background, but it'll all come back. So at this moment, I don't even know what the color is. It doesn't matter since I can shift the color around. But have you been feeling like, you don't know yourself? Have you been feeling like things are so different? Almost like we entered a different age entirely, and that the pandemic was like the, like the starting point of it, or the causation of it. And it's really troublesome because I like to think I had a good hold over my life and my schedule and my habits and the way I was running things. And now I feel like things are so out of my control, and so unfamiliar. And I'm not a person who's a control freak, but I do like when there's a dependable, a schedule that I could rely on. So you could make this lower to make it feel like the ground beneath her really is flat, which I actually have to erase with a better perspective line. That's interesting. My response to traumatizing events has always been to repress my emotions and act normal, so I don't feel like I changed very much at all. Just lonelier and strangely okay with it. Oh, I see. I've become so introverted, it's kind of like a coping mechanism, but it's it's not how I used to be, and it's very alien to me, and feel exhausted from social interaction. And the fact that you changed is also very exhausting as well. The change itself causes a lot of exhaustion because you're trying to constantly render what's happening around you. You're constantly trying to figure out what's going on. And that is definitely happening to me, I would say. I'm definitely feeling that, and yeah, it's definitely something related to how humans naturally react to traumatizing events. So I'm just adding a little bit of highlight to the top of her head to bring her out, and then on midtones, just to bring in that bounce light from the environment around. And now that we added this really strong light behind her, we can start introducing the rim light on her character, which I can try to pull off with the brush tool instead of dodge. Remember, you can use dodge tool on not just highlights, you can use it on midtones, and it's actually pretty forgiving. And you stop it at the hip because in moving inward, this hip doesn't get light anymore. Only the areas that are actually exposed to that secondary. And this is what will start bringing the body out of that shadow and start making things look more realistic. So for character designs, if you're confused about, you know, what the heck you're gonna do with the character design, there's nothing wrong with giving a little bit more breathing room to the environment, and you can just really change it to any color. I'm pretty sure, you know, a grayscale also works, but the color is also really nice. And it's really up to you where you end up with the color. Might not let it be that dark behind her. And then you could also always bring in the handy dandy kind of spotlight. So you see a lot of these are done with super low opacity, and it's not done with this haphazard application. We're being very you're just indicating these general atmospheric changes around. Very diffused reflection, very diffused, because it's about the character design. It's not about the environment design. And then there's always darkening the scene if it helps portray the character as you intend. So whatever the character is doing, you know, whatever it is that's happening, darkening the scene might help. But I do want to choose a better color. We can still saturate even though we darken the scene. I feel like a navy blue is also really cool. And that'll also help bring out the character. So you can see very minimal application of atmospheric change results in like a really nice space. We've built the depth around her. The space that she occupies is now visible. It's now accessible to the eyes and has made the environment more believable. Filter, blur, motion blur. I actually really want to just keep playing with the reflections and then flip vertical and kind of mess with the arc of the reflection. Actually, that did not work as I intended at all. It's okay. I wanted to reflect the light, which I will. I will not give up. Alright, so we're gonna do that, and then we're gonna flip vertical, and then we're gonna do this, and then what we're gonna do is this, and voila, we got it. Then we're just gonna show where those are, and then in the reflection, be it water or anything, there's always a point of separation where the reflection doesn't meet the object it's reflecting perfectly. So if it did, then it would look artificial, very artificial. And the fact that we darken the background means that now we really get to play with this magical glow quality, which I'm still not sure if I want it behind or in front of the character. It's really up to you. And then there's the color of the glow, which might be a little bit more navy or purplish. You can make it something, but if you do change it, you have to go to the reflection and change it there as well. So really simple little tricks that make this environment speak a little bit better. And I do feel tempted to highlight the ground even more. If you feel like it's necessary, if you really want to see it there, it'll just help. I'm not sure where I put the shoe reflection. Right there. Okie dokie. And then you could recrop it if you'd like. If you feel like it's just too much space around. The reason why I enlarged it is just so it could feel more complete. You know, the space around feels more fulfilled. So before, you had a really plain background that had no connection to any of the colors you were choosing on the character. The shadow actually wasn't sharp, my bad. It was just my idiotic lasso. And then the glow of the character's magic is not reflected anywhere on the silk. And then after, the environment around is really strong. I'm tempted now to redarken the feet, because they do need to be darkened. And if they're darker, that means actually that's too dark. Crop, darken. I'm just screwing around. I have no idea what I'm doing. So before, after. As for the pose, of all the poses you could choose, you chose a character that looks like she's bored of the very thing she's doing. So she reminds me of like a Lux character from Adventure Time, from League of Legends, also known as Adventure Time. She just seems like she's her expression and her gesture are not reflecting what it is that she's doing. So I'm going to do some quick changes. Nothing that I'm completely reposing, because I have another piece I want to look at. But I'm going to just try to do something with her face that'll at least show she's not bored. And maybe give her a squint to her eyes to make her look more fun. Because the way she's dressed and the way she's acting seems like a fun person. She doesn't seem like the bored Raven from Teen Titans, like a bored but part of an adventurous group of friends. She seems like the bubbly character. And I'm just trying to portray that here. And that also might result in her tilting her head upward. You know, while she does, she's like, oh, look at what I can do. Look at my magic. You know what I'm saying? Like, it seems like it helps this sarcastic almost pose. She's not really sarcastic, but it seems like she's a sarcastic person. Do you know what I mean? I don't know. It just seems like it makes more sense now. That she's doing something with her head that reflects what is happening with her gesture. She's not bored, but it's just like a commonplace intro, like, hey, look at me. My name is Abigail, and I do crystal magic. And the turnaround of the character splash in the game or something is just her in this environment. And it's just, it shows her characteristics, which is fun, but also very powerful. So that's helping a little. And then I forgot about the little glowy magics all around her. So I'll read through it. For me, I find myself starved of social interaction, and as someone who is usually fine alone, I feel like I'm constantly trying to go out now that things are opening up. Me too. I have this, I mean, I wasn't an extrovert, but I believe it or not, outside of streams, you know, I make a fool of myself in streams, but outside of streams, I'm actually a really shy, introverted person who's not crazy about crowds. So I find myself wanting to just having this pressure to be out, to go out. Again, I don't recognize myself. I've changed a great deal because we kind of saw the important things in life, which was just being our freedom. And because our freedom was so threatened, we want to exercise our right to it. We want to exercise it. And find myself very, very different. But if you think you want to crop it a little bit more just so she's more visible, you know, her face, go ahead. And then for the anatomy of her gesture, I feel like one hip is a little bit off to the side, a little too much. We're not seeing her from the side. We would still see some of her hips this way if she's standing with her legs close together like that, which makes her look a little bit more athletic. So it seems less like a displaced hip. Do you see how before it was nice, but it wasn't necessarily anatomical? And I want to get rid of, I don't know if this was my lasso or part of the old design, but I want to get rid of that. So her leg is more visible in the silhouette. I think it was part of the old design. And then I could recrop it. So flatten. Okay. So this environment surrounding is now friendly, is now working with the character, but it is not obstructing our ability to access the character. Before, yours kind of obstructed because it was just big and purple, and that wasn't great. So I'm going to try to find a crop that works for both. Maybe the width will go down. So before, do you see what I mean by her looking very unentertained and bored? With just a head tilt and a little bit of expression change, it made her a little bit more exciting. And I feel like we could, now that I've merged, of course, I want to make this change. But I feel like the background could be even more bright. Just bear with me, just take a look at, you know, how it'll look better, even more bright, to help bring her out. But it's your choice how you want to pull off the glow, the night, all of that stuff. And then maybe we could, no, that's too much. Maybe we could exaggerate the glow from underneath like this. So before, after, a little bit more environment goes a long way. Just keep it simple or else it'll look really cheesy. All right, the next piece is going to be a piece that I help you pose with Portrait Studio. So this arm, basically what's happening with this arm, so let me screenshot this and open it up here and then jump in to Portrait Studio so I could show you what you did. Okay, so what we're seeing is an arm this way that looks like, oops, an arm this way that looks like it's like that. But what you intended was for the arm to be doing something like, you know, like this, and kind of playing with the maraca like that, maybe even tilted this way while the wrist played with the maraca. So instead, so you essentially, what you did was this. You broke the arm. And that's not acceptable, obviously, because it's not the intended gesture. So what you needed to do is first of all, think about exactly what the arm is doing in the right perspective, and then choose the perspective you're after. Maybe you said the light is going this way. Actually, I'm just gonna make the light head on just so we can see everything. I'm not mimicking the light today. I'm just gonna turn off the joints. So this is what was missing right here. So this is a complete recreation of the arm. The arm looks completely broken. It looks completely dislocated. So what I'm gonna try to do is just Photoshop it on, just so we have, you know, this overlap. so you could actually see what happened. And I'm going to try to overlap it so the model and the painting almost have the same scale. Okay. And then I'm just going to select the arm. Oops. And maybe, oh, I posed the arm in the wrong way. It wasn't exactly the right way. But just so you could see the difference. Yeah, okay. Okay, so look at the old arm. Look at what's happening. That's troublesome. Okay, so perspective, when it comes to gesture, requires access to the three dimensions. Write that back to me. Perspective, when it comes to gesture, requires animation. Write that back to me. So if you're not thinking about, you know, expanding your reference library into sculpting in realistic form, then you're going to have a hard time with all gestures forever, because you're always going to see the values, the gesture perspective through one camera perspective. That's not acceptable. That's only one frame in the multitude of frames that you could use for your character. One tiny little frame to represent a moving object. That's horrible. That's how you kill your reference library in your mind. That's how you keep your visual library completely limited. So how do I fix my visual library? How do I remember the right way to put the arm? How could I have done this so that I knew what to do with the arm the moment I needed it? That's by sculpting, by getting some clay, or getting an action figure, going to Toys R Us if they're not open anymore. Getting an action figure, an art figure of some kind, or get Portrait Studio, which is on sale right now. And move, which is just the program I just used, and move the object around so you could learn exactly what is going on. All right, so I'm just photoshopping this so that it makes a little bit more sense, just so you could see exactly what that arm was supposed to be doing. So I'm just going to leave the hands. Look at the difference in the arms. If you don't learn the frames and see them in your mind moving around, and it's not me saying you need a photographic memory or you need to become like a super genius. It's just about remembering that these are joints that are meant to move. These are limbs that are meant to stretch. These are objects, you know, these each and every single arm joint is just makes the arm so flexible. It is probably the most flexible limb we have, because the legs don't move the same way. They're limited to the hamstrings and the groin and the pelvis. The arm elbow alone does all kinds of crazy motion, and then you have the fact that it has a secondary mobility in the elbow and a tertiary mobility in the wrist. There's so much to the arm. It's probably the most complex thing to render, to sketch, to learn. And the reason why it failed in your gesture, where you had everything else where it was supposed to be, but this arm was completely dislocated, it was because that arm has got a lot of facets to it that you won't learn with still images. You will learn them only with full-on moving references of some kind. That's the there's no other answer. There's no other way around it. There's no shortcut. Oh, I'm just going to find a good reference and copy it. You're still, even if you find the right reference and you found it and you copied it, you still would not have been able to capture the most of that reference, because you're still only seeing the reference as a single frame. You're actually, in your mind, you don't see anything moving. And which is unfortunate. because it's really easy to just quickly go and get a reference and get it to move and get it to, you know. So so that's why this piece is failing, because it's you've given us this gesture in the arms that makes no sense. I can't even do that. How am I supposed to turn my wrist and put it right on my butt and on the butt crack line as well? So like right on the ass. It's impossible. It's impossible. So start finding better references. If you're at the point where you are graduating into gestures, graduating into figures, full figures that are standing, that need to look like they're liquid, you know, they need to look like they have flow, they need to look flexible and organic. You have to start using animated references. Go to YouTube, find the reference you want, pause it, slow down the video, and look at the frames before and the frames after and study them. Whenever I have students in private tutoring who are graduating into figure drawing, I force them to do this slowed down YouTube assignment. There's just no better way to feed your brain than to feed it, than to slow, like drip feed it gesture studies of frames of gestures and movement. Okay. What did I walk into? An art class. They both left hands, judging by the thumb. They're both left hands, judging by the thumb. That hand can't work. Yeah. It seems like you can't without bending your arm or look really awkward with your shoulders. Yeah. We can put our arm behind our back, but that kind of motion is pivoted on the elbow a little bit more, and the hand wouldn't appear like that. Meanwhile, I'm here trying to having initially thought she had an extra arm coming out of her back. No. So I'm going to get rid of the arm so that the before and after is a lot more obvious. I love everything about I love the textures. I like the motion. Like, you really went for it. You wanted to show us this girl was moving. You wanted to show us this girl was on the move. But you chose the back of a female for a reason, and there's only one reason, and that's for the butt. All right, so show us the butt, show us the curves, and get rid of that arm. Because now we have her full, and she's got a little thing growing out of her butt now. Now we have a full and complete vision of what's happening with the silhouette. And look over here, you interrupted the silhouette a little too much. This girl is on the move. We're watching her dance. Let us see her silhouette a little bit. Let us like take a look at the way her body is creating motion in the illustration. So reveal, make the background a little bit lighter, and reveal her figure a little bit more. Okay, so small changes but big results, because gestures are a big deal. And then maybe the other arm, and if you're not sure what to do with the other arm, by all means pose the other arm, and then just like throw it back and turn the joints back on, and you know, just show us what she's doing with the other arm. Now you have a really good you know, idea of what the other arm should be doing. Okay, so she's actually bent this way, and her head is tilted this way. And you could have done other things with the head. You could have made it tilt like that while she's dancing. There's a lot of stuff you could have done. Make her butt stick out a little bit more. And like make a leg do that. And she kind of looks like she's dancing a lot. Even if I dislocated the neck just now, it's okay. And look at it from a different perspective. Sometimes things look good in one perspective and they don't in the other. As long as it's anatomically correct, who cares about correcting it? Sometimes the joints are all messed up anyway, because you're trying to pull off, you know, organic flexibility that isn't necessarily possible with a limited model of any kind. You know, we are more flexible than a 3D model is, but this is definitely a good start on fixing some of this stuff. So before, just completely in the wrong spot. There's no way this will be fixable. There is if you tilt the hand down, but then even then, why is her hand on her butt? And after. Oh, I forgot to show the waistline, which you don't want to interrupt. Okay, so that's it for today. A lot of talk on gestures, a lot of talk on just making your characters look more organic, standing more organically. So where her hips was definitely you trying too hard to make her sexy before you just tried to, you know, just at least give us a real personality that makes sense before trying to make her sexy. And here is just anatomically incorrect arm that you needed a reference for. Both could have benefited from a reference. You could have posed this one on Portrait Studio as well and gotten a better idea. Pose the character, find their personality before you even start drawing so that the piece doesn't suffer for it while you're rendering still. But thank you everyone for coming today. I might do another after hours stream where I'm just illustrating something. Look out for that the XP Pen Artist 22 2nd Gen review that I'll be uploading this weekend. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you guys haven't pulled the trigger on which tablet you're buying so that you guys get this one, because there's a promo code involved with this one. And to join me on my critique hour, go to istebrak.com, and to submit your work, click on the little Reddit icon here. It'll take you to our Reddit. Someone was asking, 2 people were asking me about the 14-day challenge rules. They're on the community tab on my website. Just scroll down. There's FAQ and Q&A on the 14-day challenge and everything else involved with it. Other frequently asked questions as well about my brushes and stuff. Portrait Studio is on sale at 50% off on my website, so the program you saw me use today is available on my website at a very, very low price, as well as my brushes. And that's it. Thank you everyone for coming. If you learned something today and want to give back, you can also join me on Patreon. I really appreciate it. For the higher tier in Patreon, it's a little less intensive than my private tutoring. But it's definitely still homework and a due date and a critique for your homework, but it's a little bit less intensive. It's like this background, like a class that you're a part of, that you participate in, and get critiqued and still have peers and classroom environment without it feeling like it's hanging over your head like some $1,000 or $2,000 course online. It's $20 a month, and you get some homework. And it's fun homework, it's portfolio friendly, it's form studies, it's beginner friendly, it's advanced friendly homework. There's a middle ground to all the homework, and you can backtrack and do old homework and submit it to be critiqued every month. And that's for the apprentice tier, and it's $20 a month for anyone interested. Any of the lesser tiers get pieces of the rewards. For the apprentices, you also get my personal work, as well as my brushes and my PSDs. You get access to all of that. I actually just sent out the rewards for this month's work. So thank you everyone for coming. I'll see you guys next time. I might go back to 2 sessions a week, but for now it's only 1 session because my schedule is kind of crazy. And I'll let you guys go. Thank you everyone for coming. Bye guys.